Hey everybody, this video is about how the United States finally jumped into the war to end all wars. And after watching this video, you should be able to discuss why the United States joined the Allies during World War I. So here we go. Why did people in the United States begin to question their neutrality in World War I? Well, first of all, many people in the United States felt a close psychological connection to the Allies. And while there were a lot of Germans in the United States that didn't want to fight people from their mother country, a lot of the people in the United States felt a close connection to the Allies because they spoke the same language as the British and felt politically closer to Allies because they were fellow democracies, while the Central Powers leaders were emperors. Two, the United States had a stronger economic connection to the Allies. Great Britain and France depended on the United States to provide the Allies with war supplies like submarines, armored cars, even copper. Even before the war, the United States traded twice as much with Britain and France as we did with other countries. The war only made that difference greater. In other words, there was a financial incentive for the United States to be rooting for the Allies. Finally, and this may be a little simple, but there were a number of Americans that just saw the Allies as the good guys. There were all these ideas that were circulating in the United States, largely thanks to British propaganda, some of which was not true, that portrayed the Germans as being excessively brutal when they were fighting. For example, there were rumors out there that the Germans mercilessly attacked villages, civilians, and churches, and we kind of see some of that in this propaganda poster over to your right. In a lot of these posters, in a lot of these ideas out there, German was just seen to be a bully. Now, some of those ideas about Germany behaving badly was seemingly reinforced in Americans' minds when the German submarines called U-boats sunk a British ship called the Lusitania in 1915. Now, the reasons that the Lusitania was attacked by a German ship are complicated. First, the British had a really strong navy to establish a blockade along the German-Belgian coast. The goal of the blockade was to prevent the Germans from getting the supplies they desperately needed. That blockade had been very tough on the Germans, and the Germans responded by using their submarines in what is called unrestricted submarine warfare, where Germans would attack any Allied ship without warning. The Lusitania was one of those ships that the German U-boat sunk. And while the Lusitania was a British ship, it did have 128 Americans on board, and Americans were extremely frustrated that innocent Americans died in a sneaky attack by a German submarine. And while the sinking of the Lusitania did not directly result in the American entrance into the war, it did motivate many Americans to root for the Allies. Now, the practice of unrestricted submarine warfare became so unpopular that the Germans said that they were no longer going to engage in those practices. And while they didn't quite keep that promise, it was an important position for the Germans to take for a while. As time went on, though, Germans became so desperate that they resumed the practice again in 1917, and that nudged the United States even closer to war. But perhaps the greatest reason that the United States joined the war on the side of the Allies was that the Americans felt personally attacked. You see, the British intercepted a top-secret telegram from a German foreign ambassador to Mexico, Arthur Zimmermann. In the telegram, Germany suggested that Mexico and Germany should make an alliance, and that the Germans would help Mexico in recovering territory lost to the United States after the Mexican-American War. We're talking about states, Arizona, New Mexico. After the interception of that telegram and the German sinking of 4 unarmed American ships, the fact that Russia left the war because of revolution on their own, the United States finally decided to enter the Great War in 1917. President Wilson asked the Congress for a formal declaration of war. And the United States, this new combatant, would turn the tides of the war. So, what were the factors that led to the United States entering the World War I? Here's a rundown. Cultural ties to the Allies, such as language, politics, perception of sneaky warfare used by Germany, kind of seeing Germany as a bully, and finally, the Zimmermann telegram. Thanks for watching.